executives really want employees back at their desks, so much so that they're willing to offer free lunch, free entertainment, and even free Ubers to get people back. But they just won't offer continued remote work. And one cause of that may be that 68% of senior managers say a strong company culture provides a competitive advantage. That's according to a new survey by PricewaterhouseCoopers. So here to discuss this is PwC's Bhushan Sethi. Bhushan, welcome back to QuickTake, and thanks for joining. To start us off, I know in your survey that you just conducted, you talked with executives and those who are not in management, lower level workers. I did just mention that 86% of executives cite the importance of culture, but only 46% of frontline workers say that culture matters more than strategy, and that's almost half. That's a really big difference. What do you make of that disparate number?
Great to see you again, Madison. I think for us, the biggest headlines are culture's continuing to be very, very important, whether you're returning to the office, whether you're going to be remote for a while. Companies have seen strengths around their culture, decision-making, the sense of caring and compassion, the ability to coach people. But that disconnect between how leaders view culture and their connection around purpose to how employees feel that is very different. And so to address that, firms have to engage, think about their programs, think about their policies, and do what's right for their business, whether that's we're driving a transformation change program, and we need to figure out how we get people in the office 2 to 3 days a week, or we're integrating an acquisition and we've got to go through due diligence in person. But it's how we bring everyone along and make people feel included as part of that discussion. Because what we do know in any workplace culture, hybrid work is here to stay for the foreseeable future.
And that's good news for young workers, because we know that younger employees are really excited about either going full remote or having the ability to do both, to come in when they want, stay at home when they want. But what do young people want from the culture then? If they really are admiring this idea of being able to continue working from home, do they want the ability to work remote and a strong culture? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, I would say that the young people want what most of us want. We want the ability to drive connections with our clients, with our colleagues, and some of that in person. But we want the flexibility of choice to work. If we want to work summer Fridays, if we want to take 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, we want that flexibility where it allows. You have to be on the trading floor to trade financial products. You have to be in a manufacturing plant to run the line. So there are always going to be certain jobs because of risk, because of business models that have to be in person. But the rest of us, whether we're young or more tenured, we want to have the best of connections, but also flexibility.
Yeah, and I know that when we talk about company culture, sometimes I can kind of hear the eye rolls of people thinking about, compliment circles and gushy meetings and whatnot. But I'm curious about what a good company culture actually looks like. What are the really useful things that employers who might be listening to this right now could implement to create a good culture?
Yeah, so the firms that actually said their culture was distinctive had significant differences in areas like innovation, their ability to drive revenue, the client experience, and their ability to coach and develop talent. So that's not necessarily new in our 2021 findings. That's very consistent with 2018. But firms really have to define their behaviors, their ways of working, how they drive innovation, how they engage with clients, how they build relationships, and equally, Madison, how they build trust with all of their stakeholders, on just their employees and colleagues and contingent workers, but how they build trust with their community.
Part of building that trust, I imagine, Bhushan, would involve diversity and inclusion efforts. And I know you have some amazing data on that as part of this study. It looked to me like leaders and employees have very different views on how well they're doing on diversity and inclusion. You mentioned in the research that employees feel like they can't necessarily be themselves in the office. They feel like they may have to resort to code switching to sort of fit in. Can you briefly explain to me what code switching is and how a hybrid work model where you're working from home partially could potentially make that even worse?
Yeah, absolutely. So code switching is where we act differently when we're in front of clients or we're in the office versus being at home. The most disappointing part of this culture survey was that discrepancy between how leaders feel and how employees feel, specifically around being themselves, being their authentic selves. also engaging in discussions on divisive topics that are important for society. We've seen this in the workplace. We've seen this in the political area. We've seen this in society at large. So the more that firms can actually engage their people to say, how do we think about systemic racism? What is our view on gun control? What is our view on hate crimes for different demographics? It's that sense of me feeling comfortable that I belong and that I can bring my authentic self with respect and tolerance at the core, but I can bring that to the workplace and it doesn't impinge on my progress.
Bhushan, we'll have to have you on again to discuss how we can help executives be more comfortable with those conversations. Bhushan Sethi, Joint Global Leader of PwC's People and Organization Practice, joining us. Scarlett?
What a great conversation. Now, speaking of work and the challenges of work,